I don't read much of anything. I just download.
What?
Through the ability to see, hear, and feel. Since I was a kid,
What?
I've been in communication with the universe,
What?
having conversations with angels and ascended masters about the only thing I really am concerned with, which is the expansion of consciousness, knowing God,
Loving kindness, loving kindness.
and playing as the light and form.
That's also loving kindness. These are all different words. Like God, when he says God, he means it's like a loving kindness energy. Then you are in this dance. That is a loving kindness energy dance, and it is a game of loving kindness. Anyway, the point is that I took his class on Udemy. Great class. $12. Don't say scam. Don't say Amish Patel scam. $12 class. Great class.
Not for $12.
It's $12. Okay. It's a class on loving kindness and meditation and stuff like that. But anyway, the first class, he says, from now on, when you're walking down the street, you look in people's eyes, you smile, and you say hello. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not bothering people. This is a community. Hohenheim, what's up, man? It's good to have you back. Great to have you on the Love Drip. I had no idea, dude, the sex addiction you were talking about yesterday. So do you have any words on this Tom Torero? Have you heard of him, or were you all natural? You just came in the game ripping.
Well, because up until, a few minutes ago, I wasn't sure, had no idea about Tom Torero. When I hear pickup artist, my brain immediately goes predator.
Right.
And the
Fair
thing
enough.
is, so one thing that was interesting is that, so my SAA meetings are on Wednesday nights. And last night we were discussing, basically like the topic was about how society has confused the meaning of predator because we've popularized it with the term savage. Oh, it's okay, dude. Oh, that was savage. Savage AF. And that makes what you're doing okay. And at the end of the day, it's not. You know what I mean? You're still a predator.
Right. So you think hollering on the street though is predation? Is like if you go up to someone and say, "Hey, I think you're cute."
No, I totally not. Definitely not. I mean, we have to interact as humans. I think the fact that when it starts purely online, usually ends up being the problem. I have this sort of documentary series that I'll need funded before I can really film, where I want to follow around some couples and as well as single people, where we have some of the subjects dating in what I would call a traditional way, without not using online dating, or if they do, then it goes straight from online dating to real conversation.
Yeah.
Because I have this sort of theory that the reason why this whole spike in hookup culture has happened is because back in the day, pre-technology era, we got this dating thing all in balance. So let me give you an example. In the 90s, it was sort of a popular dating fad to be oh, you don't screw until the third date. No hanky-panky till the third date.
Fair.
And that was because, in the first date, you're getting to know each other. It's interview stuff. It's seeing if you vibe. If you have a second date, it's because the first date went well. And, now maybe you're talking about the future or what's going on in your lives now. And then by the third date, you've gotten everything in balance with physical, emotional, mental, and spiritually, that you're ready to progress to being exact.
Right.
Whereas nowadays, within the first couple of hours, we have the first 2 weeks worth of dating, in just conversation. And so when we first meet, we're playing catch up. Our bodies are playing catch up. The only thing we haven't had is that physical contact. So that's why you've been talking to a girl for 2 weeks, and first thing you do the first night you guys actually go out and end up banging, it's because your body's playing catch up, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a theory, but I'd like to explore that more with a documentary series where I follow around singles that are doing just online dating, as well as ones that are doing traditional dating. So
yeah, that's interesting.
So in that,
I see the benefit of that. And actually in Tantra, they have a lot of practices where you just spend 10 minutes looking, eye gazing. And that's sexy, dude. If you eye gaze and no touching, then you slowly progress. I think first you do eye gaze, and then they sit and then they like you can touch each other, but nothing like in sexual areas, like hands on the legs. For you got to do 10 minutes there. Then they sit on top and you hug. Like it's really like, and you have to be in the moment with them, like not thinking about anything else, just thinking about how beautiful this person is, appreciating them, seeing the God in them. And then by the time you start having sex, like these girls will nut quick. Because they're like, this is like 5 hours of foreplay, bing bang, and you know, by slowing down, you sped it up almost.
Yes,
you're like deep into it, I feel like. But yeah.
You deepened the mental and like emotional attachment just by so the Kentucky Fried Movie from like the 90s, like a parody movie. They have this thing where they're like listening to a record that tells them how the date's supposed to go. He's like narrating the date. Like, now, undress away from each other, away from your partner on the other side of the room. Take this time to appreciate and heighten the senses as you watch, as you check out their curves and all sort of stuff. That's what that makes me. That's what it makes me think of.
That's great. Well, it's like American Tantra.
Yeah, like this tantric sex. I remember a video that went viral way back in the early days of YouTube about this guy who was like having a tantric orgasm, sitting meditation style, like sitting just in a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
Gunking up his zipper, like, and he's just sitting there, not touching himself or anything, he's like meditating and mental masturbation. It's a real thing.
Have you ever seen the 100 orgasms a day guy?
No. Oh God.
This is a great, like, me and my buddies wanted to do like a documentary about someone, like something like this, like a mockumentary. It's so silly, dude. I'll play you the first little bit of it. This guy has 100 orgasms a day. It's a real issue, man. It's like it's really hurting his life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Man who has suffered from 100 orgasms per day. I love how it opens. It's just.
Oh, God. Oh.
Father of two, Dale Decker, suffers from a rare and seemingly incurable condition that leads to him suffering up to 100 unwanted orgasms a day.
We should be laughing if it's a medical condition, but my gosh, this makes me think again of the SNL skit, like, I just jizzed my pants. You remember it was like a parody song? Oh my God.
So good.
Oh, wow.
Sex every day is normal.
Agreed.
I guess if you're dating, but then I feel like I'm not being productive. Sometimes you're dating someone who just wants to do it all the time, and you're like, man, you got to do some shit, man. Get out of here.
Miserable about it, because even though it might physically feel good, the whole time inside your mind, you're completely disgusted by what's going on.
Wow, that's so sad.
What's sad is that literally this guy's physical condition that he has no control over would put him in SAA in like a moment because of the shame that it carries. Like, holy crap, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's great that you have the shame perspective. Not a lot of people have the shame perspective. You know what I mean? Because when you're a kid, you're growing up with your parents are like, what the hell is wrong with you? And you're just like, nothing. Like you can't even tell them.
Right.
That's gonna be shames. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of shames.
Yeah, well, I mean, because the thing is, you got to accept responsibility for what you're doing, and that's part of my really only issue with the pickup artists is that,
right?
If you're spinning a false narrative, and if it's for views, like making these women fall in love with you because you're charismatic and handsome and you know how to have a conversation, like that's some BS, right? But there's nothing wrong with striking up a conversation if it's genuine and authentic.
Yeah, no, I guess the issue does come in where it's like, where you're just like, okay, when is it, like, the unethicalness is videotaping it for sure. I get, like, maybe, you know what, like, you gotta just stop videotaping it.
It's not so much videotaping it, because people broadcast their lives all the time. That's become the new normal, right? Is to broadcast.
Okay, interesting, but go on.
But it's more like the fact that his whole point of having a conversation with this woman was to catch it on camera, to be like, dude, see, my shit works. You know what I mean? So in a marketing respect, I can appreciate that. In a you're literally abusing your, I guess, power to have good relationship conversation skills. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing to these women who now think that they're interesting when they were just interesting enough for views? You know what I mean? Not actually.
Yeah.
He's not genuinely dating 8,000 women that he's approaching on the street for, you know, I mean, or if he is, he should be in SAA, but you know.
Yeah. It does get weird where it's like, now you're a full-time teacher of it. So it's like,
Right.
you almost have to dishonestly pick up girls all day.
Yeah. See, like,
It's like you've made it your job a little bit to like pretend to be into a girl. And I mean, if they're like, it is a gray area morally. It's like, are you into it or not? So they're into it. The camera seems like a lot. Now, the other thing with the camera is that it is like de-escalation, like nuclear de-escalation, in the sense that like, I know we knew a guy here that was like trying to get us to do videos for him, and in Toronto, and he was like scared shitless. He's like they took down all the pickup on the street videos, and now I'm fucked and I don't know what to do, and I gotta write like comedy or something like that. Like he needs to write other videos, and I was trying to make him feel better. It's like, listen, if they take all the videos off, then none of you have it, and you just all find another way to teach and figure. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not such a bad thing, because it is one of those things, like, even if 9 out of 10 girls is like so cool and so down with it, the 1 out of 10, like, there are girls that are just like, oh my god, there's a video of me getting picked up on the internet, and it just hurts their feelings a lot.
Yeah, right. And for those women, like, you know, it's like, come on, you know, like, was it necessary? But, you know, Yehuvi here has a great point. He's saying it's not that deep, guy. I think emotionally strong enough to get over a guy small talking you. Yes, it's not about the small talk. It's about
okay.
the small talk. It's still manipulative. You know what I mean? It's like, that's like trying to skirt any responsibility for the dude that's doing it. It's why he's doing it that makes it wrong. Not that
One of the things they said in the Newsweek article, and the woman writing the article also admitted it, is that technically he hasn't done anything illegal. So according to the law, nothing illegal that he's done. Even the recordings, some states, that's interesting actually in the article. So some states, they have strict laws on like whether it's on the phone or I guess in real life too. Both parties have to know they're being recorded. But in most states and in other places in the world, they have laws that say you are allowed to, just one of you can know that there's being recorded. So one person can just record another person.
Isn't that called like single consent or something? Yeah, something.
Yeah, single person consent or something like that. So technically he hasn't done anything illegal too. It's just more of like a shaming him out of existence kind of thing. I wonder if that's why he I wonder if he actually committed suicide. Nobody really knows actually. He just passed away like a little while later. He did get depressed, like disappeared, stopped posting anything, and then he just like and he died. And he was suffering from depression for a long time too. So I agree, man. Look, one day, like, I think like we are still getting used to the internet life. So a lot of times we are in old standards of like, oh, there's a video of me, and it's like, hey, I can tell you as a YouTuber, nobody's gonna watch it. Like, nobody's gonna watch it. I can like, I'm trying to get people to watch my shit. Nobody's gonna watch this video of you. Nobody's gonna see it. But it is a hard thing to say to someone. It's like, hey, just suck it up. No one's gonna see it. So that is the issue. But, you know, like a lot of social justice things, it is like, I wouldn't mind having a tribunal, like, meaning like I just having like a talk. They do these summits. There's like 21 convention. They do these men's summits. They should bring feminists and be like, hey, where's the line for y'all? But it doesn't seem like they're willing to have that conversation actually, on both sides. But it does seem very polarized, and it does seem very white, to be honest. Like I said before, black and brown people are kind of like, it's almost understood that like we're just gonna go to the club and pick up girls tonight. And whereas I do find with white guys, with the white comics, they're like, are we allowed? It's like, yeah. How are you gonna have sex with anyone, you idiot? Like, you have to go out. Or, you know what I mean? Or like you're just gonna be like jerking off for like 5 years or something. And I've seen people do it. They get weird. People get fucking weird, man. Like, and get incel-y and get like black pilly and just really awkward.
This is what kills me about the whole like this huge incel thing, is that,
by the way, girls are incels too, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, and whether you're male, female, or whatever gender you identify as or don't identify as, like, what it ends up coming down to is maybe your personality is just not that great. You know, work on you a little bit. Like, I find that most of these people, they're not physically unattractive, but they don't know how to relate to people. Like,
There's a
and
lot of
especially,
Asian men who are taught to be pussies, basically. It's a
well,
lot of
and,
Asian men. It's mostly
and
like, all right, Sanjay, go over there. It's like, I feel like 90% of the money comes like that.
they become hyper focused on something that they haven't had in a long time, or at all, you know. And
I mean, it is a part of their teaching they need to fix, right? Because even one thing that I feel like feminists do agree is like, it's better if men are upfront and honest about what their intentions are. So that you are getting, and that is something that any feminist I talk to is like, yeah, that's actually good, because we do know that there are guys out there who are just pretending to be our friend, and then they want to like have sex, and it's like, that's really toxic too. And that's probably worse. So it's like, well, I don't know. Like, you gotta let these guys holler at girls on the street, man. I
don't know.
do it. I don't do it myself.
Like, but like women do that too. I mean, holy crap! There are whole Instagram personas built around like, I'm gonna sleep with ball players. I'm gonna have their babies and have checks. Like, and I'm not even exaggerating. Spencer Cornelia has broken down a couple of Instagram accounts that are literally all about that, and that is their persona. Not slander to say that. You can play videos of them saying it themselves. Like, it's crazy. Like, women do this too. The fake relationship thing, like the abusive relationship that we had, briefly discussed from way back when I first started getting on the drip. That was the epitome of it. Manipulation, pretending to like things that I liked, and then got what you wanted, and I didn't want to leave, and I got abused for it. Yeah. So.
I briefly lived with a guy who his ex-wife beat the shit out of him a bunch, and he was Punjabi, like he was Sikh Punjabi, and the culture is very masculine and very male dominated, and like nobody in his community took it even seriously. They're just like, like he said he came home one day and like everything was hammered, and then she was passed out because she was an alcoholic too. So she got drunk one day. She took a hammer to everything. They had a glass table, the windows, like other shit, just hammered everything, and she's passed out. And that's how much it took for him to call his family and be like, so here's what she did now. And his family at that point was like, okay, I guess you should get a divorce. Because until then they were like, okay, don't be a loser. Like, just, what do you mean she's hitting you? Like, they didn't get it.
They had to see the apartment completely destroyed.
To see
oh, he's not. This isn't just drama. This isn't just like I'm saying things.
Yeah. I actually know a couple of guys that got the shit kicked out of them by girls. Actually, one girl smacked me pretty hard. Like, just because she was drunk and she was just like, what, you know what I mean? Like, she was just like, yeah, fuck you. You're not gonna listen, like, just for nothing. And then she apologized right away, but
Yeah. Well, like with me, I didn't get my ass kicked. I did get punched and slapped, sometimes scratched, like, just for.
Oh my god.
For being like, well, fuck that. Like, oh, fuck what? And you're gonna take me seriously, motherfucker?
Wow.
Yeah. Oof. The same girlfriend at the time that I was wearing her shirt when I did the Ana Anka thing.
Right.
Way back in the day. Yeah. That one.
But was the sex really good after? Was it like crazy? Sorry, that's such a rude question. But was it like, did it build some sexual chemistry, like some tension, where you're just like, I'm gonna pound it later? Like, was it like that, or was it just like,
I'm in a relationship, so all I can say is that I've never had a relationship where sex was a problem. That's what I can say.
You never cared where the sex was coming from. You said, is that what
No, I'm saying that I've never had a relationship where we had sexual problems at all. So.
Right. So when that time came, and that was it.
What I'm saying is that I'm so egotistical. Sex is always good with me, Amish. Like,
yeah.
Before the fight, after the fight, it's great.
Well, I found that like after a while, I started like initially like there was a point in my life where I was like, man, sex is so good with people that I don't actually get along with, and that's not healthy. So then what I started doing is like I started telling girls that I did get along with, let's make a little story. Like, let's just pretend you did something fucked up or I did something fucked up. Just be tense about it for 20 minutes, and maybe sometimes just complete role play of like
just a role play.
just a fucked up role play, like just fucked up role play. And then like I couldn't believe how girls just take to it. Like they're just like, okay, what's my part? Like they're just so down to do silly stuff like that. There's like, okay, what's my part? Okay, cool, I got it. And like, and then it's like, okay, now you do one. And then theirs were always like so more freak than mine. Like mine were always so like tame, and then they would be like, okay, you're trafficking me. And I'm like, hey, can you just cool it? Why can't you just have a regular thing? Why can't you just have a... They always go to some weird fucked up shit, like some trafficking shit or something weird like that, where I'm like, okay, now that's weird, I'll do it. But then I had to start watching that. I was like, no, you're getting me too much into this weird shit. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta keep it, just keep it.
See, in
Like,
my
pretend
experience,
we're like a regular 1950s couple, and you know, you pissed me, I pissed you off because I didn't shovel the snow fast enough, and then just, is this fast enough? Like, just yell about it. But anyway, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you know, I just feel like every woman I met, every woman's a freak, right? Bring it out, you know. And then
Yeah, guys and girls, everyone's a freak, man. Everyone's like walking around with this. Just like the
Well,
source energy's in you, you got that nut in you, and that nut wants to come out all the time. It's like in there, it's like, and it's saying, hey, let's be part, let's get out, let's get on the culture. You know what I'm saying? I think it's healthy to go out dancing, flirting. This is all very positive foreplay that should be going on in the culture, I feel like. And we have to maybe make more positive spaces where this can happen, because right now it does seem a little bit like, without getting wasted, these people won't goddamn dance.
Right. Well, and also, you know, like you said earlier, people are so hesitant to engage in that sort of environment again because they're worried about the whole predatory thing. Like the fact that we're in there and we're all dancing is all the consent you need from the go for us to enjoy each other's space. You know?
I find the club has always been a pickup artist safe zone. I've always found that it's almost like tennis where there's like inbounds, out of bounds. I feel like as in the club, baby, go.
Right.
Like this is the correct place, and this is according to official rules. It's outside the club that always, and then I find outside after the club is still a legit like they're almost like hanging out waiting for guys to do it. Sometimes I found that happens. Sometimes they're just waiting for their friends. More often, but a lot of times there are people just hanging out, being like, maybe someone will pick me up here. Baby, like they are looking a little bit outside the club. So why not? Why not holler at that point? That's a good hollering point.
I think it's pretty safe to say that about 85% of the people that are going clubbing, if they didn't go out with a friend already, then they were looking to get up. You know, like that's kind of the only reason you're in the bar at 3 a.m. is because you didn't leave with somebody at 1.
True.
It kind of ends up being the whole thing with clubbing. I mean, unless you just really like it,
I do love to dance. I do like to go for that reason. I try not to drink when I'm there too. So I do, but I'll have like one and I'll chill, but I like more for the dancing, and I like to holler through the dancing. I feel like that's the correct way, and that's a very natural. It's like birds, it's like animals, mating dance. It is the place for our mating dance as like a culture. Like that's where we do our mating dance. So
well, it seems like I'm more of a smoker. So like I'll smoke before I go in, and then maybe leave during again. But so I'll like to sip on a drink. I end up being DD among my friends. Just more.
Yeah, that's good, man. I find sativa goes a long way in those environments.
It really does. Helps me keep me nice and mellow, just enjoying the atmosphere and kind of taking everything in. I'm very much a people watcher. I like to observe. I like to dance too, but that's usually when I'm on my second beer. All right.
So that's good, man. I mean, tell me about this sex addiction though. So like you were with one. So is it like, does sex addiction automatically mean you're cheating all the time, or was it like you addicted to just banging one girl?
So,
or is it just jerking off? Because if you're just jerking off, that's a whole other. Sex addiction. At first, I'm always like, "Ooh, playa! Oh shit, playa!" And then I find out like, "Oh, sex addiction." Like, no, I was masturbating nonstop for. Like, oh.
Well, and that's what's interesting about sex addiction, is that it covers, the whole spectrum. So, Sex Addicts Anonymous. So I'll just say there are guys in my group who are just addicted to masturbation. There are guys in my group who have been addicted to prostitution. There's guys in my group who are just addicted to codependence. For me specifically, it was affairs, intimacy, that sort of thing. The player is very much exactly what I was. But although at the same time,
You
later,
look like one now, but last year you did not look like one. You had a hat that was so silly, and you were just kind of like you were like 40 pounds heavier. You said, or 20?
yeah, at least 25 pounds heavier. Yeah.
Dude, if you told me last year, I would have said, "Oh, sex addiction." Okay. Now I see it. Now I see it.
Oh, okay. Well, and this is the thing. Like, you know, I'm among other things, I'm a professional roller skater too. So like the roller skating is where a lot of people see that. Oh yeah, yeah, I bet you are, like, you know, a fucking player. Yeah, I see those head movements. That's player shit right there. Those head movements.
Right.
There you. But yeah, so for me specifically though, it was, you know, intimacy, affairs, that sort of thing. And I originally went into recovery in 2018, and that was like actual recovery. I went to a rehab center. I was there for like a month and a half, and after that, started going to Sex Addicts Anonymous meetings. And you know, with addiction, it's kind of all over the place. I'm clean now, nice and sober.
Sex Addicts Anonymous full of hot girls, or was it like all guys?
No. So the thing is that when you...
That's such a TV fantasy. Bullshit. It's like when Hank Moody goes to Sex Addiction. Of course, the first day there's like just the hottest, like, I just can't help it. I keep banging. Like, it's okay. This is TV.
Always right, yeah. And it's like every guy in there just starts masturbating. No, it's not like that. So the now there are co-ed meetings. You know, right now, because of still post-COVID, they're all via Zoom. But it really depends on your area. So the large majority of meetings are single-sex meetings. So I cannot do meetings with women. Now, the thing is that the reason why they do co-ed meetings is because if you're at an SAA meeting, you're in recovery and sober. So that woman's not a temptation to you. You're not a temptation to her. That's supposed to be why co-ed is okay. For many of us.
I guess it's like bringing alcohol to a AA meeting.
To an AA meeting, it kind of is.
You can't have guys and girls mix at the straight AA meeting unless you do a gay, like, you know, then you can do that. You can do like gay and lesbian. Maybe.
Right.
You know
and so the reason why the large majority of meetings are male only or female only is because, yes, it's kind of like bringing
yeah, because they did those meetings and they go, God damn it, they just keep coming and banging each other.
Well, or
yeah.
Or because the large majority of sex addicts end up being addicted to masturbation or pornography.
That should be even counted as a separate, like, say you're addicted to porn then.
They trigger it. Well, but this is the thing, is that, and this is why we're all in a group together when we do SAA meetings.
Like, they put a Stone Cold player in with those masturbators? I mean, it's fine. That's good. I guess he needs to help them too. Like, at least go to that level, then go clean, maybe.
It's because what any addiction takes away from you is still the same path. Right. So the time you spend, whether it's in affairs, sleeping with women, or with prostitutes, or with, you know, masturbation and pornography, that's still time you spent away from your family, your friends, not doing what you were engaging your addiction, whether it was through pornography or through physical sex.
Right.
So we're still hold the same level of shame and everything else. And not only that, but like part of your first step, you know, it's still a 12-step program. So part of your first step is to sort of document a history of times that you were powerless, or that your life was unmanageable, that you were powerless over your addiction. And it ends up being like a whole like history. So when a lot of us read our first steps, we find that, you know, whether it's sexual abuse when we were younger, or just early exposure to pornography, or whatever it was, we all end up having that in common.
Wow.
So we all end
up... the first step, like AA, where the first step is admit that it's not your fault, it's a higher power. Wow, so y'all do that too, eh? It's the higher power. That is something that I wonder what people say that are into like taking responsibility, because these guys believe in taking responsibility, but the first responsibility is admitting that you don't have responsibility.
No. And that's the thing. It's not about
Okay.
skirting responsibility. Otherwise, there wouldn't be the make amends step,
Yes.
right? And what it is
It's very
it's
subtle.
realizing-
It's a subtle difference. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
But
and it's
we'll get into it.
because you realize that to overcome your addiction, it requires a higher power. Now, like when you get into steps 2 and 3, we start defining what your higher power is, and there's like these questionnaires that you can take that define what your higher power is. And the questions are like,
Wow.
when you're about to make a major life decision, what's the first thing you go to? Like for me, my higher powers are, and they are in this order, especially, specifically pertaining to sex addiction, is logic is my first higher power. Second is SAA, the group itself. And then third is God. And I found that out based on when I have a problem, what do I go to first in my mind? You know what I mean? Where does my mind go? Do I go to God for the answer? Do I go to my logic? For me, yes, for the answer. And do I go to the group? Do I lay it on the group? Like, hey guys, I can't decide what to do about this. Well,
Wow. Mind, God, community. That's
Yeah.
the 3. Okay.
So when we say higher power, you don't have to be religious at all. And especially with sex addicts, it's more about realizing that you yourself are not enough to overcome it, which is damn hard for most men because we like to believe that we're the number one solution to all of our problems. And that's what
Yeah.
you're taught when you accept responsibility for your actions. And it's
truly
true.
accepting responsibility is accepting the higher power.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's accepting that when it was your responsibility, you fucked it up. That's why you're in this predicament.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why you have to lay it up to something else. Whatever.
That's why you keep masturbating, isn't it? You couldn't control
I-
it.
That's why FAP is the number one sound in your house, bro.
Yeah. Are you no FAP gang? I guess you have to be. If you're sex addiction, you got to be no FAP.
No, my sex addiction doesn't include masturbation or pornography. So I thank God, can healthily watch
Wow.
and touch myself without that being a problem. For me, it's more of intimacy. Like, my sex addiction basically stemmed from needing approval from women because I felt like I never had it from my mother.
Right.
And
Interesting.
learning how to get that approval from them sexually is like, yeah, okay, cool. This is what approval feels like.
Interesting.
Dig it.
Wow. It takes a lot of well balancedness. I used to think that people who got married to their first girlfriends, I used to think they were all having confidence issues or something. But now I realize that probably 20% of them are actually the most sexually healthy people. Probably like Steven. Steven's probably a very sexually healthy. Then I know a lot of guys and girls who are just well, who else is gonna date me? So they just stay with the first person. But I do feel like most people are okay, get out of the first one and just get out. But it does seem a little bit I heard Tony Robbins say this years ago, where he basically says that if you're healthy, if you're emotionally healthy, it's a natural urge in you to find someone. And then if you're naturally healthy from there, it's a natural urge to pick someone and be I'm gonna stick with this one now. And
Yeah.
I never used to agree with that. But now I see it. It's it is such a big waste of time, just sleeping around all the time or whatever.
Yeah, well, it leaves you empty. That's one thing that ends up bringing you to needing help and joining a 12-step program in the first place. And realize that all that shit leads to. But what you were saying about the healthy relationships, when you're comfortable with yourself and you know yourself, when you really know yourself and know who you are, you have now the mental capacity to learn about somebody else. And when you those long-term relationships, getting married and being with someone for the rest of your life, you're doing that because you've realized that learning that other person is a lifelong commitment. I try to think of dating in the long term, because I've definitely entertained physical relationships in the past, kind of thing. That's a completely different thing. When you're taking somebody seriously as a potential mate for long term, I like to think of it in school. So that first year that you're dating, is like kindergarten. And, over the next 20, 30, 40 years of your life, you're trying to earn your master's degree in that person. You know what I mean? I'm going to be an expert on it.
And it's the more time you put in with one person, the more there is there's on a shallow level, there's like a boredom where you're like, okay, I kind of want to have sex with someone else now. But then on a more spiritual level, like, yeah, this is an issue now where you're meeting, like I'm dating people and I'm not even attached enough to make any time for them. Just because it's like, I just met you, so I don't care. You know what I mean? So it's like, it is you just fall in and out of relationships.
And not only that, but it's the utility of it. I mean, you know, the reason why you went to hook up with somebody is to get sex from them. So once you've gotten what you want from them, what else do you need them for? You know what I mean? Then the only time you end up reaching back out to them is when that same need arises. You know, you kind of compartmentalize. I mean, especially men, we sort of compartmentalize people.
Yeah.
Based on their utility. So if
materialism, it's such materialism.
It is. It really
even
is.
On dating.
Yeah, and like for me, I feel like people always lead with their strengths, right? So if the first thing you connected with somebody on was a physical basis, like, you know, the reality is every woman you meet is going to have a vagina that you can have sex with. So at the end of the day, that's basic. Every woman has that to offer you. And so if that's what you're leading with,
to say, hey, lower your standards.
yeah. So if that's what you're leading with, that's
right.
I'm saying that's essentially what your brain does for you when that's what they lead with, because that's all they have to offer. You lead with your strengths. You know,
right.
That's why I always lead with my charm and charisma. You know, it's surface level. Break the onion open.
I mean, I don't know. We might, you know, I do feel like we do materialize it a lot as men, but even like we don't really appreciate them getting hot for us as like a real value in society, maybe. But like we almost look at it as like, oh, it's just your looks. But it's like, no, they've worked on that. It is almost like a bit of an art piece. They've figured out how to work with their face in the right way, how to hang, and you see that actually. A lot of girls actually get hotter in their mid-20s, I'd say, because they just learn how to take care of it all. They're like, okay, I know my system now. I know that like this clothes will make me like the right clothes to make them pop, the right makeup to make them pop. They really do like a queer eye on the straight guy on themselves, and that all again kind of gets tight and comes together, and it is a bit of an artwork, and you know, can be something that we can appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and the emotional awareness too, I feel like is a real value that they bring to you as men that we don't get. Like we are a little bit too materially driven and just about checking off boxes and getting this done and getting that done. And it's women in my life who have had to teach me to be like, hey, like, hang out with me. Like, just put your phone down and be with someone, and you have some innate value, you know?
Right. Well,
men don't let you have that, I feel like.
I find that what that really ends up like coming down to once you start chipping away the reasoning is it comes down to a lack of empathy. You know, like it's men learning empathy. For their spouse and their partner and who they're trying to engage in a relationship with.
Yeah, they're good at that, and they show you that it's its own reward. You know what I mean? Like they're almost teaching you like, here's how to love me, so that I open up and give you more love, and then it'll just go back and forth and back and forth. And it's something that like it's hard to get out of men. You know, like they don't get it, and it's something that like the only men who've really ever taught that type of thing is people like Tom Torero. Where like I would never take a class or whatever, but definitely I'm out, I'm sitting in a coffee shop, there's someone hot there, my brain's just like just trying to think of something. Pull up a video, you know, you see a guy do it and you're like, okay, well, let me see what's up.
Oh, looks easy enough, right?
Yeah, looks easy enough. Sure. That's a good move. Like it actually is so helpful. That's why I feel bad saying, you know, just always pretending that like pickup art, what's that? Like, no, I watch it. I've watched it over the years, and like, it's actually been so helpful to me, you know?
Yeah.
Because other than women, like, they are teaching you what women basically teach you when you date them. Especially when you date older women, they really teach you, like, okay, get your shit together a little bit. Like, you know, like, older women are the first ones to be like, hey, I'm not just gonna have sex with you. Fix this. You fucking stink. You gotta put that. Like, it's all stuff that, like, just younger girls would never even tell you. But they teach you other stuff too, you know?
Yeah, but like with pickup artists, I feel like the main thing that they really teach you is confidence. Confidence goes a long way. Yeah. Like it immediately, you know, and confidence is important not to mix with arrogance. There, like confidence is different. Like I'm confident in who I am. You know, when I say things, I'm passionate or I'm genuine. And so that comes off immediately being real. And then
Yeah, man.
boom.
Yeah, it's true.
It goes a really long way.
Yeah, no, and that is like even the teaching of loving kindness is to go in and find like your real self and let that shine through you. And it does. I was showing the thing from Inner Family Systems, but they basically say your actual self is like, they have like 8 C's: courageous, confident, clear, collaborative. I don't know, they have like 6 or 7, but it is like all positive. That's your true nature, and that's what should be shining out of you, and that's where your actual value comes from. And I just never knew that before these guys, you know. So yeah, and women for sure. But yo, thanks for chatting, man. I gotta go do a comedy show tonight. I am in. Yo, let me pull up the comedy show. But you know what? Tell us real quick at the end here. Tell us how did you get out of your addiction? And I'm gonna pull up some of my gigs that are coming up this week. But tell us how did you get out of your addiction? What was your process like?
Well, so the 12-step program is brilliant. Just anyways, like it really works. A community of people who understand what you're going through. Like,
Yeah.
so easy to feel alone, especially in today's cyber world. That's what a 12-step program really helps you
12-step
with.
program, yeah. So you go out. Yeah, I've been to those for drinking. I've
Yeah.
been back in the day, and I stopped drinking for 5 years, but not because of them. But I learned a lot from them. They were cool.
Yeah, and so like the community is what saves me all the time. Like I had, I guess, originally come to it in 2018, just because I was at the point where my life was truly unmanageable, and like I wasn't working, I wasn't doing anything but that. So
you'd go to the meetings. Which meeting did you go to? Was it in a church? The ones I went to were in
no,
church.
this was in a mental health clinic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's great, man.